going to open it up already to, I guess, the big question that kind of spawned this all. It showed up on my Twitter inbox. It's from a buddy of mine, so at Kersey, shout out to Kersey. It says, Kellen, I need clarity. As of he got Sportsnet for the year in January, which is our Canadian television provider up here for WWE, and he's gotten back into wrestling, mostly Raw and sometimes SmackDown. And basically his big question is, what the fuck happened to Braun Strowman? Well, what did happen to Braun Strowman? Strowman got cut. And we didn't that is like a that's like a star quarterback getting cut, man. That's something that you don't expect. At least in my opinion, but
I don't know if it's a star quarterback, but I know what you mean. It is it's a high profile player in the game who just got cut off the roster.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go through the names from this latest round. This was on the 2nd. Strowman, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Lana, Santana Garrett, and Buddy Murphy all showing the door in WWE. And I think Strowman was the big surprise, at least for me, out of this group, because even out of WrestleMania, they had him in, it wasn't a great storyline, but it was still one of the major mid-card storylines for WrestleMania coming out of that event and that stuff with Shane McMahon and him coming out on top. And then on top of that, you just had him in one of the main events in your last pay-per-view, too, for Backlash, in one of the title matches. And, that you hadn't seen him on TV with the exception of a promo a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, I think, basically reacting to the news that WWE was going to go back on tour in July. So this was, this kind of came out of left field. What were your thoughts when you seen it?
My thoughts were to contact you immediately because it had to be some kind of insider stuff. I'm like, you don't just drop Braun Strowman for no reason. There has to be something behind this. So I'm going to ask you, is there some insider dirt sheet stuff going on? Like, did he not want to travel anymore? Was there backstage problems? Did he get caught in a DUI? Like, is there backstage politics involved in this one?
I'll throw that question out to our comment box as well over on Facebook and on YouTube. If you've heard anything new since Tuesday or Wednesday, go ahead and throw it up there. I haven't seen really anything because a lot of the big shows and insiders, people like Keller and Alvarez and that stuff, were just basically in gasp and shocked that Strowman got let go as well. So I don't know. I think that it might be there's a rumored potential sale of WWE going through, and so that they are streamlining some and so one of the things is that they might be streamlining some assets right now in WWE going forward that kind of I guess make it more, I guess, palatable for whoever the new buyers would be to be that. Now the problem is that the names being bandied about that could be buying WWE are out there, I guess. Like, what would Disney want to do with a wrestling company ultimately?
Ruin it.
What would Amazon? Well, the only real credible name that they've talked about that I thought that might actually help expand their reach a little bit would be Amazon. But the problem is that they just signed a deal with NBC to have their content on Peacock. So this isn't necessarily an expansion of WWE Network because you've basically already scrapped that in favor to throw your stuff onto NBC. So
unless Amazon would be like their exclusive distributor of their merchandise.
That could be, where they take it out of like, well, I don't know. Do they even still do? Yeah, they still do Walmart and Target in the States and that stuff and everything. So, to move it online, that would work. That would definitely be it. That is just absolutely. That's about it.
But on the thing at hand, I don't understand how Braun Strowman would fit into that. As is like, you're not product friendly, so we're getting rid of you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that came up through the WWE system and was, quite frankly, the blueprint of what Vince wants. in his main event scene. Big, huge dude, a monster that can work face and heel, a guy that's overcome, that, like, I had posted on Twitter when the news broke that I thought that Strowman should have been given the Big Show treatment where, here's a large super heavyweight on your roster that has at least a decade of an upper mid-card to main event run in him. Because that's what Big Show had. So, I mean, and to see it, kind of cut like that is a real head scratcher. And I think we're still aghast maybe about 4 or 5 days after the fact with her jaws kind of dropped. So it is fairly strange. The other few rumors that I've heard for these moves, especially, the other few rumors that I've heard is that like on the completely opposite side of this is that another rumor that had been flying around Reddit and that stuff earlier this week, you may have seen it, is that USA not really happy with the numbers for Monday Night Raw, so they're looking at potentially cutting Monday Night Raw entirely and just rolling with NXT and SmackDown as the two brands.
Wow. That's horrendous.
So that's, like I said, that's rumor, hearsay, and innuendo, but it is kind of grounded in the truth that the final Raw hour this week only drew a 1.1, which isn't good.
It's not good, but it's understandable. It's the last hour of Raw. You've been watching wrestling for 2+ hours. It's tough. It's too much.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about it in the past how that show should go back to 2 hours.
Definitely.
I don't know if completely gassing that show would necessarily, accomplish the desired effect, but it certainly would be a head turner. Have basically all your people that pick the best that you want off of Raw and amalgamate that with NXT, and then that's your NXT lineup that goes on, Wednesday, I guess. And then you run your big show is SmackDown. That's your flagship now because it's on Fox.
I also think that's a very rash decision, given that we're still coming out of pandemic issues as like vaccinations and stuff are going around and slowly getting back to normal with everything.
Right.
That would just seem like a rash decision. Let's see what happens when they're back on tour, when everything's, all ready to go again. Then kind of make some decisions.
Yes, exactly. So that I kind of think along those lines as well. That rumor in itself is kind of more, I think, people pushing the panic button a little bit. And the human brain is wired for negative thoughts. So that's probably one of the first things that they had thought about that with all this talent getting cut and everything. It's like, they're cutting one of the shows. So the most likely scenario, and this is the one that I'm going to roll with here, is that they stockpiled a ton of contracts a few years ago to hamper All Elite Wrestling on its launch. And with the pandemic and no live shows, no income coming in for WWE, so got to shed those contracts. I think they just WCW'd themselves with contracts, and now they're just cutting where they can to kind of streamline the operation going back on the road.
Yeah, but like Ruby Riott, was she making that much? Not really.
Not really.
So it still doesn't make much sense. I really don't want to shit all over Braun Strowman because I don't know what the situation is.
Right. Yeah.
The only thing I could maybe say was he was, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't a draw. Maybe people are just like,
I could see that.
Nah, this guy was just overbooked as a super monster who could flip over an ambulance, and then he can't beat certain people, or why can't this guy win matches? He's just there to be big. I know he wasn't good in the ring, but I mean, with his size,
he's gotten better.
Yeah, he's gotten better. I'll give him.
He's gotten better. Yeah, he has improved since he debuted. Yeah, and I mean, it's not the fall of 2019 anymore, where it looked like he was just on the cusp of breaking through as a big babyface for him as well. And I think the pandemic, like a lot of things, kind of made a lot of companies and a lot of ideas, I guess, kind of pivot or be backburnered or whatever. Yeah, so that's it. And I'm like the whole deal with the first, just to roll back to the first line of, I guess, quote unquote reasoning off of this, the potential sale of WWE, or the talk of a potential sale of WWE. I mean, that's something where you talk to one dirt sheet writer like Brian Alvarez, he is 100% convinced that that is happening. And then you talk to another person like Brandon Thurston, who is one of the guys that runs WrestleNomics on Twitter and has their own website. It's kind of like a Cap Geek for wrestling fans. So you can go in and you can see how, you know, much different guys and girls are making and so on and so forth. And he doesn't believe so. He just thinks that this is just a business trend right now where, yeah, companies, they're cutting people because pandemic. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 50-50 with that for sure. Another shocking we'll move off of Strowman. Maybe we'll come back to it if anybody's got any further questions on it or something.
I do want to add something actually.
Yeah, go for it.
For that is, what is he going to do next? Because remember when he shit all over the indies?
Yeah, he's not going to the indies. I think that it's either going to be a contract in AEW, or he's out of wrestling and going to Hollywood. One of the two.
I would probably suspect Hollywood over AEW, because who is he going to face in AEW? He's like 3 feet taller than everybody that works there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some guys that he's worked with in the past in WWE that he's had some good matches with. I mean, you got Moxley, you have Miro, you have, you know, the potential of a Christian Cage, which is a dream match that Christian has said that he's wanted, is a matchup with Strowman. So in past years and that stuff. So
he can say that, but it doesn't look right when you look at it on the screen.
No, I mean,
it's big for him. To me, it looks like when Sami Zayn had that feud with Strowman. It's like,
yeah,
you're never gonna win. You're way too small. He's way too big.
Yeah, I mean, but then you brought the argument that, hey, there's 52 weeks of content they got to fill. So with one show every week, whether it's on a Wednesday or Friday, it doesn't matter. And the fact that they're also expanding their content to another show on TBS on Fridays in August as well, and everything. So
which I am kind of laughing at.
I mean,
they don't have the talent to go around and do another show. That's my beef.
There's a whole influx of talent that just hit the free market.